there's something that I really like to talk about because it's getting on my nerves. Agnostic atheism.
Really? 'Cause I'd hate to tell you what gets on my nerves. Let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. Meet Mr. M. Toomey, who seems to think that words should mean what he wants them to mean, rather than having definitions that facilitate understanding and thus conversation. Have a look.
People have been starting to call themselves agnostic atheists.
Yes, they have. And do you know why? Because they want to accurately describe their position, and the words don't otherwise exist to be able to do so.
For those that have any clue about religious terms or anything, we know that's completely stupid.
Well, if that's how you're going to be about it, perhaps I should just unload on you. All civility filters disabled. I don't think I'm ever going to teach you a damn thing, so it'd just be for fun. And maybe someone out there in YouTube land will decide that they'd rather not be an asshole than endure the full brunt of an atheist's righteous fury.
They are mutually exclusive of each other. On one hand, you have agnosticism, which means no knowledge. Gnosis, knowledge, ism. On the other hand, you have atheism, which means no God.
Well, I'll hand it to you. You got agnosticism right, for now. But atheism is not no God. It's no God belief. It's not being a theist.
One says that I don't have knowledge of whether there is a God or not. So I haven't made up my mind.
Oh, you were almost there. So close. But unfortunately, the I haven't made up my mind part is not there. It is not part and parcel of agnosticism. I know a lot of people would love it if it were, because they seem to think, wrongly so, that atheism is some raw anti-God activism, and they want some neutral middle ground. But unfortunately, that's not what agnosticism is. And I haven't made up my mind, while being a valid position, is not a valid designation. Because if you haven't made up your mind, what's one thing you're not doing? Believing. And if believing is something you're not doing, what's the only option left? Not believing. And if you're not believing, we can hardly legitimately call you a theist, now can we? And there's really only one other choice. Despite people's obvious discomfort with the social connotations of being called an atheist, if you don't believe in any gods, that's what you are.
On the other, it says atheism. There is no God. And there are various reasons for why people would say there is no God.
Except that's not what atheism is. As an atheist, you can say there is no God, but atheism is having no belief in a God.
I have explained lots of things in my life, but to say that I'm indifferent and yet I'm solid at the same time on something blows my mind.
Well, that's because you're using the terms incorrectly. If I tried to use them the way you're using them, it wouldn't make any sense to me either. But agnosticism is not indifference. You yourself said that it's lacking knowledge. And if I lack knowledge, if I lack sufficient evidence to say that a God might exist, that the very idea is even plausible, why would I believe in one? Why would I believe in the existence of something if I don't have evidence that points to the possibility? I'm an agnostic atheist specifically because I don't have enough evidence for God's existence. Now, if you use the term that way, hopefully it makes a little bit more sense.
Now, why do they do this? Well, they say that agnostic atheism means that you believe there is no God, but you don't have a way to prove it.
You don't get to tell us what we say, especially when you're completely wrong. And so?
Back to paddling.
Are they saying that agnosticism is the belief that you can't prove something?
No, agnosticism is the absence of knowledge, nothing more.
And thus, they do not say there is no God. They say there's no knowledge. They don't ever say there is no God.
But how many gods do they believe in? If the number is 0, they aren't a theist, they're an atheist, even if they are also an agnostic.
I could also say that they like to establish a term that encompasses what they both are and their relationship to each other. Sort of like Judeo-Christian.
Exactamundo. You see, agnostic is not a noun, it's an adjective. It describes what kind of atheist I am, the reason why I'm an atheist.
But there are already words for that.
Well, allow me to retort.
I have never, and I mean never, found a term that succinctly, unambiguously, and in sufficient detail describes the concept of being an atheist due to a lack of evidence for the existence of a God besides agnostic atheist. If you think such a term exists, please, by all means, tell me.
Alright, you don't go in and say, see that cat over there? And I'll be like, yeah, I see the cat. That's not a cat, that's a dog.
That's right, we're not going to say that. However, we might say, see that cat over there? That's a Persian. See that cat over there? That's an Angora. See that cat over there? That's a tabby. Similarly, there are different types of atheists. We can point and say, see that one over there? That atheist is an explicit atheist. They say there is no God. But that one over there is an implicit atheist. They simply lack belief in a God. You see that atheist over there? That's a Gnostic atheist. They claim to have sufficient information that precludes the possibility of a God's existence. You see that atheist over there? They're an agnostic atheist. They lack sufficient information to suspect that a God exists. Just as there are different breeds of cats or dogs, there are different types of atheists, and we need terms to be able to describe them, and nothing describes lacking evidence and thus not believing better than agnostic atheist.
Let me give you some education so you don't have to look like complete idiots.
Our new friend.
If you want to include the group of those that believe God should be separate from people's lives, that's called secularism.
And if that were what we were talking about when we said agnostic atheist, fine, but it isn't.
Or if that wasn't your point, you wanted to say, this is my brand of atheism. Agnostic atheism. That's my brand. It means that I can't prove atheism.
No, it doesn't. You've got it backwards. It means I can't prove God.
There's already a word for that too, my friends. There's already a word for that.
If you go and watch his video, and I've linked it down in the groin bar, you'll notice that he never actually says what that word is. And it knocks me out that so many people, not just this guy, are looking for one word that describes everything. Do we do that with anything else? When there are different types of something, don't we attach one word at the front to describe the rest of it? I mean, I'm looking on Wikipedia at something as unimportant as forks. Forks, and they describe different types of them by putting an adjective before the word fork. For example, asparagus fork, barbecue fork, beef fork, berry fork, carving fork, cheese fork, chip fork, cocktail fork, cold meat fork, crab fork, dessert fork, dinner fork, fish fork, fondue fork, fruit salad fork, garden fork, granny fork, ice cream fork. Ice cream fork? Who the fuck eats ice cream with a fork? And I'm not even to the K's, for crying out loud. And you're gonna get snarky because I want to use more than one word to describe an atheist?
The word you are looking for is empiricist.
It's really not, because while I, as an agnostic atheist, will only accept empirical information as evidence for the existence of a God, there may well be other agnostic atheists out there for whom other kinds of information will constitute evidence. I may not agree with their standards, but I don't get to call them not agnostic atheists just because we disagree.
It means that which cannot be proven, therefore cannot exist.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
That's not what an empiricist is, you jackass. Empiricism is the scientific theory which states that knowledge comes solely from sensory experience.
Use the language already there, or else you're gonna end up all alone saying, look at them, they don't get it.
Oh, believe me, I'm all kinds of used to that. But at the risk of sounding arrogant, usually I'm saying they don't get it because they actually don't.
There's no such thing as agnostic atheists.
You know, the more you say that, the less it sounds like you're trying to convince me, and the more it sounds like you're trying to convince yourself. I'm done with this guy. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please, think.